I'm going to share with you 5 tips that's going to help you break 100. Real simple things that we can all do, not overly technical. Let's get into it. Tip number 1, and that comes when we are on the tee. But you can take this into the rest of all your other shots as well, because what I would find from, a lot of beginner golfers or higher handicapper golfers is a lack of repeatability in the basics. So when we watch pros on television, they are meticulous about a routine, whether it's they grip the golf club behind the golf ball, they've picked their target, they walk in, address it from behind, and then take their setup and make sure that they're in the same spot every time. A lot of what I see from, like I say, beginner, higher handicapper golfers is that even where the tee is pointing sometimes, we just fall into the line of this. So I could actually stand on this tee here now, aim square and parallel to where this tee is, and if we actually take a look from down the line here as we go here, this tee is actually pointing off in the wrong direction, because if we look where it's square at this point, it aims down the left edge of the fairway. So if I were to aim straight down the middle of here, hit a straight shot, I'm actually going to hit it into the trees for the length of shot I would hit. So we can all make sure that when we get on the tee, on a fairway, whatever it is, we're making sure we're aiming correctly. We might not be able to hit the ball 300 yards, we might not be able to hit that perfect little draw, but we can all make sure we're aiming correctly. So always come behind and pick a target, and then from there, make sure that once we get in, the setup remains constant. So if it's your driver and you've got the ball lined up to that lead insole of the lead foot here, we get that ball there. Don't just walk up, plonk the club down, have a shuffle, and it now ends up more towards the middle of my stance. Be constant with it. If it's that I tilt a little bit more with my driver, make sure I do it. So tip number 1, make sure that we've got a good aim and a constant setup. Let's give this one a little bit there. And as well, even with driver, I noticed that one was pegged down too low for me. So another thing we can do, make sure it's pegged up the right height every time. I'm going to pick my target up the right here, go through my normal routine, good setup, ball's in the right spot, grip's good, stance width's good, and then from here, good swing. And there we go. Tip number 1, get constant, keep that ball going in the same place all the time. Okay, so if we're breaking that 100, I would imagine that a lot of your second shots get messed up, and that's because we get a little bit too brave with what we're doing. We put ourselves in an uncomfortable position. If you think about it, if you're trying to break 100, you don't need to par every hole. You don't even need to bogey every hole. If you double bogeyed with the exception of a couple of bogeys in there, you've broke that 100. But when we're stood quite away from the green, and like in this situation where I've got a bit of a dodgy lie because the ball's above my feet quite a lot, it might be that you've got a 3-wood out on a flat lie and you're thinking there's a bunker that you've got to go over and it's not filling you with confidence. That puts pressure on yourself, because if you're stood over the golf ball and you're thinking as you're about to make the swing, I don't feel great here, this isn't going to go well, this isn't going to go well, the chances of you making a good golf swing are very, very limited. As where if we get the club, i.e. for me, 210 yards into the wind, 4 iron, if I get rid of that one and say, well, I'm not even meant to hit the green here in 2. If I lay up with something like my 6 iron now, because it's one of my favourite clubs, I feel a little bit more confident with it. If I just make a nice swing, no pressure on me trying to get it all the way out there with that perfect strike, I just need to advance it down here, then I can get my wedge onto the green. As I stand over this golf ball now, I'm actually feeling a lot more confident. I'm not worried about making the perfect golf swing. I think, well, as long as it's all right, half decent, it'll get somewhere up there, so I don't have as much of a pressure and messing up tendency on my second shot. I just get into a good position, take my aim, nice swing, and even there, it's down the fairway, and now I can go and advance my third onto the green. So stop putting too much pressure on yourself and feeling uncomfortable. If it doesn't feel like the right shot, don't play it. Play something that, even if it is going away from the fairway or not going onto the green, play the one you're more confident with, and you'll see that you'll have a higher success rate. Let's go and have a look at tip number 3. So if we're trying to break 100, there will be times where we find ourselves in trouble. Here, it's not a massive amount of trouble, but it's enough to cause concern for me, because what we would have here is something where the ball's actually okay. It's sat in an okay lie. I can get a club to it. It's not super deep rough where I need to chop out completely sideways and avoid all these trees. My issue is that, as we can see the green down here, the pine tree is now in the way of it. So if I were to go to the middle of the green, that is too much in the way. If I don't get the strike, because it is a little bit in the rough here, it might come out a little bit lower. I might not get my best strike on it because, you know, again, if we're trying to break that 100, we're probably not going to be, you know, at our maximum consistency of ball striking. What I can do is try and play out in a safe manner and advance it as close to the green as possible without taking too much on. So even if I'm aimed at the center of the green, I've got to go over the pine tree. As where if I aim to down near the front left corner at the bunker and I pick a club now that allows me to get it up over the tree and leave it there, at least for my next, I've got another shot. Because the worst thing I could do here is think, well, I'll get over that, it should be okay. I aim into the middle of the tree, I catch it a little bit thin or heavy, into the tree it goes, and it drops down directly below. I've moved it 20 yards forwards and I've got to go and play the same shot again. So when we're in trouble, try and advance it in the most risk-free manner and as close as the green to possible. So here I'm going to play out towards the left edge of the green, just to the point where I'm now actually just going left of the pine tree, and leave myself in a good position to chip and putt. There we go, no drama. I'm back in play, so even there now I would be down for 3. I can chip 2 putts, I've got a 6. It's one of those bogeys that we need. So if you're in trouble, accept it. Don't compound the problems by taking on too much. Make it quite easy for yourself. You don't want to be Seve trying to pull off the big, spectacular shots. Do that later down the line. Get back in play and rebuild your score from there. Let's go and take a look at tip number 4. Tip number 4. And this one I can't stress enough. If you get good at this, even as you progress to a lower handicapper golfer, it will become such a saver of your game. And that is the half little pitch shot, because I bet lots of people watching this now have times where we could literally kick this golf ball onto that green, but we get the one where it goes, blading across the green at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and now I'm faced with that dreaded chip back onto the green. What we've got to do is develop a shot that when I get to around a half wedge, I know I'm going to hit the green. That pin's in a little bit of a stinky situation. It's right next to a little bit of a knuckle. On the right hand side, there's not much room for me to miss it right at all. As where if I aim at the center of the green now and I go and practice my half shot, so for me with my 54 degree, if I swing the club halfway back here and halfway through, I know it goes round about 55 yards. You could do this with all your wedges, but as long as you've got one wedge that you know when you've got a half shot, regardless if the pin's at the front, back, middle, you just play to that center of the green, you get on the green, from there we can start to 2-putt. So good setup, weight 70% into that lead side. Don't get too wristy and flicky, feel that the body's still turning nice and smoothly, and then from there we've got something each time that we try and hit the green, because I bet there's lots of people who are missing greens and causing a lot of shots to be wasted from this distance. Good swing, weight left, turn the body, nice and simple, plays away from the green, slap bang in the middle, pretty easy and pretty stress-free there. Make sure you get good with half a wedge. Spend a lot of your practice time around this distance, 30 to 80 yards. If you get good at that, you're gonna be breaking that 100 barrier, I guarantee it. Let's go and take a look at the fifth and final tip to help you break 100. So the fifth and final tip, what I would call your stroke savers, the scorecard wreckers, this length of putt. We almost overlook them a lot because it's so short. We think, well, it's guaranteed I'm going to hole it every time. But if we think back to rounds that we've actually played, and many a great championship has been lost by this length of putt here, if we don't practice them, we're not going to get good at them. And if we're not good at them, we're not going to break 100. So what I want you to do is become great at those score saving putts. 5 foot and in. If we can hold more of our 5 footers, those 4 footers, even 3 and 2 footers, we're gonna see that the score rolls, the momentum rolls onto the next tee. I'm not walking up there thinking, oh, missed it again. That short little putt, what if? Get good at these in a great simple way. If you were to just literally go to the putting green at your local course and put a circle of golf balls around the hole at one club's length, and then just go through the routine of actually having a read of the putt, still respect it, even though it's short, you've got to read it, you've got to understand the break, you've got to know the speed, and then from there, go round and start to work on holing more of these putts. Go through your practice stroke routine, in, knock it, tap it into the hole, move on to your next one. Again, respect that putt, have a look at it, in, start to knock more and more of these putts in, and as we're doing this we're going to see that that momentum goes. And one little top tip as well, on these short ones of this length, unless the green is really undulating, try to not aim outside of the hole. A lot of the greens that we have here in England aren't as slopey as we would see abroad, and also not as quick, so there's not going to be as much break on them. So when you do come to read it, I would generally say, unless there is a massive amount of undulation, don't leave the hole, take more of a dead aim towards it, and from there you can start to knock them in each time and see that that score starts to roll. You can combine all those 5 tips together: a consistent aim, aiming properly, getting confident, not choosing a shot we're not confident with, getting out of trouble well, pitching into middle of the greens and holding more 3-footers. I guarantee you're going to be breaking that 100 more regularly. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Smash that subscribe button if you have for me. You're going to get free golf lessons every week if you do, and I want you to get better at golf. Hit it down there for me. Thanks for watching. See you in your next one.